When society sees a man who's been single for a long time, the whispers start. Something must be wrong with him. People see loneliness. They see a hole that needs to be filled, but they're looking at it all wrong. They mistake the quiet of the forge for the emptiness of a void. What they think is a weakness is actually a man building his most powerful strengths. This isn't a story about being lonely, it's a story about a man becoming dangerously whole. Let's be honest, there's a story our culture loves to tell. It's a subtle but constant pressure that ties a man's value to his relationship status. The man walking alone is often seen as an unfinished product, someone who hasn't quite figured it out, or even worse, as someone unwanted. This view is a massive misunderstanding of one of the most powerful journeys a man can take. The truth, chosen extended solitude isn't a waiting room, it's a training ground. It's a crucible for the soul, where a man is stripped of the need for anyone else's approval and forced to build his own foundation, brick by deliberate brick. This isn't about cheering up single men, it's about exploring the power that's built in the quiet hours. And when we say this makes a man dangerous, let's be perfectly clear. We're not talking about a threat to others or to society. Recent data confirms what we know intuitively. There's no link between a man being single and being a risk to anyone. The danger we're talking about is a danger to weak expectations, to manipulative games, and to a world that's terrified of a man it can't control. So, what does this forge of solitude actually look like? First off, it's not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is a hunger for someone else to fill a space inside you. Chosen solitude is the exact opposite. It's a state of being profoundly present with yourself. It's the brave choice to turn inward and face who you are when no one's watching and there's no one to impress. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly: nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. That's what solitude is, a deliberate retreat into your own mind. This is where the real work begins. In the quiet, a man has to face everything he's been running from, his fears, his insecurities, his regrets. There are no parties to distract him, no partner to soothe him. He has two choices: get swallowed by his own inner chaos or learn to tame it. This is his trial by fire, and it's where he builds real mental and emotional resilience. He learns to sit with discomfort and to manage his own state without needing help. This builds a deep, unshakable calm. This is also where true discipline is born. Out in the world, a lot of what we call discipline is just a performance for others. We hit the gym, work late, or read certain books partly because we know how it will look. But in solitude, there's no audience. The man who builds a routine, sharpens a skill, or educates himself in private does it for one reason: his own internal drive. He becomes his own drill sergeant and his own biggest fan. The promises he makes to himself become sacred, and by keeping them, he builds a powerful self-trust that becomes the core of his character. This self-reliance isn't about becoming a hermit who hates the world. It's about building an inner world so strong that he can deal with the outer world from a position of strength, not need. He becomes his own anchor, his own source of peace. The Stoics saw this as the ultimate freedom. Seneca argued that a man who can't handle being alone will never be truly free because he'll always depend on others for his peace of mind. The man who has passed through the forge of solitude has earned his freedom. It doesn't mean he needs people less, it just means he can connect with them more honestly. Look, we're all wired to seek approval. It's human. From the time we're kids, we learn to perform for praise and acceptance. For many people, their entire sense of self is tangled up in what other people think. Marcus Aurelius was amazed by this, saying, "We all love ourselves more than other people but care more about their opinions than our own." This constant hunt for validation from others is a kind of prison. The man who chooses to spend real time alone goes through a powerful approval detox. When you shut off the constant social feedback, the likes, the comments, the nods of agreement, you have to find a new way to measure your worth. The applause fades, and in that quiet, a man starts to ask a terrifying but liberating question: if no one's opinion mattered, who would I be? What do I actually value? This is where he starts building his own internal validation system. It's a tough process. At first, the silence can feel like disapproval. But over time he learns to measure his actions against his own internal compass. He starts living on his own terms, guided by his own values. This is the heart of what Ralph Waldo Emerson called self-reliance, trusting your own mind above all else. Nothing, Emerson wrote, is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. This immunity to outside opinions is what starts to make him dangerous to the way things are. You can't easily manipulate a man who doesn't need your approval. He can say no without feeling guilty because his self-worth isn't on the line. He can walk an unconventional path without fear of being judged. He can speak his mind, even when it's unpopular, because he's not trying to win a popularity contest. As Emerson saw it, he becomes a nonconformist, not to be a rebel, but because he's simply being himself. This brings a profound sense of peace. The emotional highs and lows of chasing praise and dodging criticism disappear. He's no longer a slave to the crowd. This allows him to be more honest and present with people. He isn't trying to get anything from them. Ironically, this lack of neediness is what makes him so magnetic. People are drawn to someone who is already whole. He's learned that building your self-worth on the opinions of others is like building a house on sand. He's built his on solid rock. This inner work, the self-reliance, the immunity to validation, it doesn't just stay on the inside, it radiates outward, changing how a man carries himself. His presence isn't loud or aggressive, it's a quiet, grounded, centered gravity. It's the calm that comes from a man who is completely at home in his own skin, who knows he is enough because he's done the work to prove it to himself. This centered presence comes directly from no longer needing anything from anyone. Think about it. Most social interactions have this low-level hum of anxiety, people trying to be seen, to be liked, to be found interesting. The man who has mastered solitude walks into a room without that hum. He's not there to take, he's just there to be. In a world of anxious energy, his stillness is a magnet. This totally changes his relationships, because he doesn't need a relationship to feel complete, he's free to choose one from a place of genuine desire. He approaches partners not as someone with a hole to fill, but as someone with a life to share. This flips the whole script. His standards are higher, not from arrogance, but because he's built a life of peace and purpose, and won't trade it for a connection that isn't right. Studies have shown that people who are single for longer tend to be more selective, seeking partners who truly align with their values. Paradoxically, the man who is most comfortable being alone often makes the best partner. He offers wholeness, not neediness. He brings stability, not drama. He can give freely because he's not secretly trying to get something back. He can listen deeply because he's not just waiting for his turn to speak to prove his own worth. His time alone has taught him how to be a great companion to himself, which makes him an exceptional companion to others. He knows that real love isn't two halves making a whole, but two whole people sharing their abundance. So when we call this man dangerous, let's be crystal clear about what we mean. This isn't the danger of a man who poses a physical threat. It's a more philosophical kind of danger. He's dangerous to the status quo because he's a free thinker in a world that thrives on conformity. First, he's dangerous to systems of social control. Modern culture is largely built on making you feel insecure. Ads tell you you're incomplete without this car or that watch. Social media tells you your life isn't good enough. The man who has built his own validation system is immune to most of this. He doesn't need a product to feel successful. He defines his own success. A man who thinks for himself is the biggest threat to those who profit from telling people what to think. Second, he's dangerous to manipulative relationship dynamics. A person desperate for a partner is easy to control. Their fear of being alone can be used against them. They'll put up with disrespect and compromise their values just to not be single. The man who genuinely prefers his own company to bad company can't be controlled that way. His greatest power is his willingness to walk away. He enters relationships with clear boundaries born of self-respect. He's looking for a partner, not a hostage, and he has the strength to accept nothing less. Third, he's dangerous to a life of mediocrity. All that time spent in reflection has given him incredible clarity. He's no longer willing to just drift along or chase goals that society handed to him. He has his own mission. This focus makes him formidable. He isn't easily sidetracked by trivial drama or shallow goals. As Seneca might say, he has chosen his destination, so now any wind is the right wind. He is a walking, breathing challenge to the comfortable complacency all around him. This is the real threat he poses. He's a quiet revolutionary, living proof that a man's worth isn't defined by his relationship status or what others think. It's defined by the strength of his character and a purpose he forged for himself in the fire of solitude. He's dangerous because he's free, and a free man inspires others to start questioning their own chains. This journey isn't for everyone. It takes courage and a willingness to face yourself head-on. If this message hit home for you, if you felt that power growing in the quiet moments, share your experience in the comments. Let's build a conversation around this. Comment with the phrase, "I choose solitude to forge my strength," to own your journey. And if you want to keep exploring self-mastery and inner strength, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. So, we started with society's image of the single man as incomplete, as lacking something. We end with the image of a man who is, in fact, dangerously whole. The path of chosen singlehood isn't a holding pattern. It's an active, powerful process of creation. It's where a man forges unbreakable self-reliance. It's where he gains immunity from the exhausting chase for other people's approval. And it all leads to a centered, powerful presence that comes from a place of inner abundance. This is what makes him dangerous. Dangerous to conformity, to manipulation, and to the shallow definitions of success that hold so many people back. The man who emerges from this fire isn't hiding from the world. He's a warrior who has mastered himself and is now ready to engage with the world on his own terms. He has learned that the greatest kingdom you can ever rule is the one inside your own mind. He doesn't fear being alone because he's learned to be his own best company. This man isn't escaping life, he's building one that is truly, powerfully, and unapologetically free.